Hi, this is Jerry Ball, and you're listening to The Grueling Truth.
Welcome to The Grueling Truth's NFL Legends Show, brought to you by GridIronMo, a new interactive football app where you get to call what you think the offense or defense will do in a live football game and see what all others have called also. Check out GridIronMo at www.gridironmo.com. As always for the Legends Show, I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in today a guy that I've been wanting to get on for a while. As anybody listening to the show knows, I grew up a Bengals fan, and I've still got a Tim Krumrie King of the Jungle sweatshirt from 1988, Tim. So I want to welcome Tim Krumrie, former Cincinnati Bengal, to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. It's always a pleasure telling sports and going forward.
All right, well, to start off, from what I remember, I think you were raised on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and I know everybody really talked about your work ethic, your competitiveness. I mean, how did the dairy farming, being raised on that, how did that help contribute to what you've become?
Well, you learn to be, looking back at it, mentally tough and strong. You know, we worked the dairy farm and we had to bale hay. And just imagine throwing hay bales on a wagon and your core strength. You have to have that as a youngster. And I think that really was a passion when I went into the sports world. My body and hip control was so strong before I even got there, just due to the farming. Yeah,
and also, from what I remember, I mean, you were a state champion wrestler. I think you were an All-Big Ten wrestler at Wisconsin also. You want to talk a little bit about your wrestling career?
Absolutely. I was my wrestling career in high school was great. And I won the state champion. Now, the funny thing about that, Mike, is at that time there was no classes. So the state was the state. So I was going against big school kids and stuff like that, so which meant nothing, but I still won the state tournament. Now they have classes. I won this class.
Yeah, I think what I read the last time when you won the state championship in '79 was the last time that was all together as one classification, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, Mike, but everybody says, well, I won state championship. No, you didn't.
Well, Tim, Wikipedia said it, so it has to be true.
Yeah, media, all right. We can say whatever we want now. Nothing makes a difference.
Yeah, it was 1979, so yeah, it could be everybody was a giant too, and all weight classes were together.
Yeah, I'm glad you had stats.
Yeah, but so football-wise. As a lineman, I always thought wrestling really helped linemen, and I know most of your better linemen were wrestlers. I know we've had a lot of guys on the show that Pro Bowl offensive and defensive linemen seem like most of them were wrestlers in high school at least. How do you think wrestling helps with the football?
Well, first of all, Mike, I was never a defensive lineman. I was a linebacker in high school, and I went to the University of Wisconsin as a linebacker. And they said, one of the coaches said, and the defensive coordinator said, we would like you to try nose tackle. I said, well, I won't make any tackles in nose tackle. They kind of giggled, of course. And they said, try it. Well, I tried it, and unfortunately the starter at that time dislocated his elbow. The first practice. Mike, the next day I was starting nose tackle at the University of Wisconsin. The rest is history. That's how I started to be a defensive lineman.
So, I mean, do you think a lot of the wrestling helped with the transition from linebacker to nose tackle?
Yeah, absolutely. Core strength, body awareness, hand strength. Just so you know, that was one of my true passions, and one of the reasons I went to the University of Wisconsin was they were going to allow me to wrestle too. And back in their mind, they probably said, "Well, he can't do that. That'll take too much. He won't do it." Well, I did it. And
I would think playing nose tackle has to be one of the toughest positions. I mean, you get double teamed, you're getting hit all the time, and I would think wrestling would help with that, just mental toughness wise, because wrestling you don't have any teammates, you're out there by yourself.
You read my mind. Absolutely, you're in the middle there, and you're taking on two guys at once. And I just spoke to the University of Wisconsin wrestling team, and I was telling them how when the wrestler goes on the mat, it's you and him. When I'm on the football field, it's me and that center. Don't worry about the next piece. Just go. And that's kind of a story I tell. I don't want to get lengthy, but that's a story I tell all across the country with college guys, high school guys. And if you can wrestle, wrestle. But, a lot of guys want to play football, that's fine. But when you go on that football field, there's 11 guys on there, but it's you one-on-one against your man. And if you can have success, the team will have success, and everybody else will have that. So I love
and I think a lot of times people forget that 11-on-11 sport. That's what I always told my teams when I coach my son's high school team right now is if everybody just goes out with the intention to beat their guy, we'll be fine.
Yep, correct. Yeah, that's and it was funny that I spoke to the wrestling team and the high school or the football coach. Coach came and said hi before they got on the bus and stuff like that. But just I guess the attitude and the passion and the desire and the not to give up. If you get beat, you don't have that. I am going to quit. No, never show. I told a young kid the other day I was coaching high school football, and the other team was holding their waist. I got them together, and I said, guys, look at them. What's wrong with them? They go, we don't know. I said, they're tired. That's why you do that. So when you get on the field and you get tired, never show tired. And they go, oh, good idea, Coach.
Body language is everything. It's just like if you see a team walking off and their quarterback's got his head down, I'm always yelling, look at him, we got him. Yeah, because body language will show you a lot of things both ways. So you get to Wisconsin. Wisconsin hadn't been that good since the early 60s. They had a head coach by the name of Dave McClain. I think a lot of people forget about that. When you look at his record, he was a very good coach. He passed away at an early age in 1986. What was your relationship like with Coach McClain?
Well, we had a good relationship. I've always got along with many of my coaches. Dave McClain was there, Jim Hillis, Arnold Jeter was there. Arnold Jeter was my defensive line coach. Hillis was the defensive coordinator. And as far as a football relationship, it was great because I was one of those guys that never stopped, high motor, that motivation thing, the will to win my guy. And a coach like that, they love you.
Yeah.
And you just kind of gravitate toward you. And Arnold was great with me, and Jim Hillis was great with me. And if you bust your butt every day, you build a great relationship. But the guys that don't bust their butt every day, they don't have that relationship because they get coached hard in college, and sometimes they don't like it. Well, that's the way it is. If I got coached hard, I stuck my chest out and my head high. I did. I made mistakes too, and I looked everybody right in the eye and says, "This ain't happening again," and they did. So it's the guys who worry about the past. I guess the last play, that really, shouldn't bother you because there's nothing you can do about that play you just messed up. And the mentality you have to have as a defensive lineman, are you going to get blocked? You bet. They're going to put two on you at one time. But you have to focus on that one man.
Yeah, and you're at Wisconsin. When did you realize that you could possibly play in the NFL? And was that your goal when you went to Wisconsin?
Well, it's just everybody has different goals, and what happens after Wisconsin. And yes, of course, probably my senior year, I was anticipating the draft, see what happened, things like that. But probably the biggest goal is through high school and through college, I never missed a game. That was a goal I had, and I carried that goal in the NFL also. And I kept that goal for 12 years. So that was a lot of playing. But that was the goal. And then I thought I'd get drafted higher. I had a pretty good, type of thing, and it didn't happen. Well, here comes that motivation. That's what that motivation. So that
1983 draft, the Bengals pick you in the 10th round, which I know couldn't have sat well with you. But what was your first take on coming to Cincinnati with a legend like Paul Brown owning a team at the time? And you had Forrest Gregg as the coach, and if you're from Wisconsin, that had to be a big deal.
Wow, what a coach! He had the same mentality I did. That big bold jaw, his toughness. You'd see it in his eyes. He'd sit and yell at you. He'd look at you and scare you. Now, that's Tim now. But Forrest was great, and he did a wonderful job, and I really liked him. As a young player, he just gravitated toward you, and I gravitated toward him just because we had the same mentality. Here's a tough kid coming from Wisconsin, 10th round, and that didn't mean anything to those guys, to him. Just go in there, Tim, and just beat people, and that's what I did. Practice and everything. Every practice was a game like every practice. I was a 10th round.
Oh, Tim, I went to a few of them practices, I think in Wilmington College back then. And the one thing I do remember is the times I would go, I'd go like once a year, and I don't think there was ever a time I went where I didn't see you in a fight with an offensive lineman.
It wasn't a fight. It might have been a skirmish. There's a difference in a fight. A skirmish is different than a fight, Mike. A fight is a fist fight.
The fight you don't have helmets on and stuff either.
Yeah, it's a skirmish.
Okay, Tim, I'm sorry about that. It seems like every time I went, you got in a little skirmish.
Yes, we can say whatever we want. It's a skirmish. That skirmish, Mike, was an attitude builder. So whoever went against me, I didn't do it all the time, Mike, now, but every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, you go to training camp nowadays, it's nothing like that, and there's not even a decent skirmish to watch anymore. Well,
I don't know if that's maybe a good player, but that was just the attitude, wrestling and, coming in as a 10th round pick, all that type of stuff, and you can't let off a second. And put it this way, if I would have gave up and let off, what would have that offensive lineman thought about me? What would the coach thought about me? Hey, he isn't going to give it no matter what it is. I mean, it's all focused on playing football, but you have to hold your turf now. And I was a good wrestler, and hey, that's a piece of cake.
Yeah. All right, so 1983 ended the season. Forrest Gregg leaves. Sam Weiss comes in to be the head coach in '84. What was your relationship like with Sam?
Sam was a good relationship. Sam and I, when he was a coach, he was great to me, and same mentality I always had going in as a football player. And there's a lot of stuff there that him and I had a great bond. And I called Sam about a couple weeks ago. You know the situation Sam's in. You're the sports guys. All that stuff. And he was before he got his heart. And I was in great. Tim, hi Tim, great vocal. His voice was great, stern. And we had, I'd say, if it was 30 minutes, it was 45 minutes. And he'd very passionate, very sincere. And I gave him to Tim saying when I hung up the phone, Sam, you fight like a wild dog. He says, I will fight like a wild dog, Tim. Love you. Goodbye. That was the call. And he got his heart. And I haven't talked to him since. I'm kind of leaving him alone. And he got it, and I understand he's doing super. Yeah,
from everything I've heard, it seems like it's taking very well right now.
Yeah.
So our prayers go out to Sam.
Isn't that a great conversation?
Yeah. But you talk about respect. I'm a Bengals fan. I remember the 1985 Bengals-Cowboys game, which I haven't heard you talk about in years. But I remember Tom Rafferty, I think he called you Krumrie, said he didn't know who you were. You come out, you get 9 tackles, you recover a fumble. I mean, I think the Bengals were up like 22-0 5 minutes into the game. You want to talk about that game against so-called America's team?
Well, I got in the locker room, and then everybody started calling me Krumrie. It's all right. They knew what they were doing. They were lighting a fire that was already lit. I didn't need that, but that was a little more motivation. And it was just one of those games that everything just kind of played out for me. Nose tackle, 9 tackles. You never think that would happen. But that was just knowing what I was doing, how to get my gap and disengaging. And it's easy. If everybody gets your gap, and whoever wins that gap, you win and have all those plays. I never thought I'd have all the tackles I did in college and all the ones in the pros. That was just came with Mike. I didn't count tackles. I counted games I played in. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I got into the college Hall of Fame thing now, and they're starting putting these stats in the scoreboard and stuff. I was like, wow, that was pretty good. I never knew that.
Yeah, I still think you're towards the top. Wisconsin all-time tackles, aren't you?
Well, you're the stat guy. Radio, you can do whatever you want.
From what I read, I think you were like still third all time.
Yes, I was. I'll say yes, I was.
All right.
Yes, I was. and I still am. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, I mean, that's everything I saw. You're still towards the top there.
Yeah.
That brings us 1986. Bengals had a really good year, just missed the playoffs. You get to 87. I mean, you get people picking the Bengals to finally go to a Super Bowl, possibly win a Super Bowl, and then the strike comes. and with a guy who doesn't want to miss games, who is competitive as you are, what was the strike like for you?
Well, it was hard. You know, you miss playing, you miss your camaraderie and stuff in your distance. You know, that's the hard thing about it. You get routine, and all of a sudden you're doing something, hoping the strike ends, hoping everything goes well. But that was one of those things that was hard. And once you got back to the field, it was tremendous. So I thought that was tough to go through, but we got through it and ended up playing some good football after that.
Yeah, 87 season was rough. We get to 1988 though. And, I mean, 1988 was a special season in Cincinnati. I think especially just from talking to the other guys that played on that team, they all talk about how close everybody was. And, I mean, the game that really stands out to me is the first game of the year against the Cardinals where you guys had 2 goal line stands to win it. But when was it during that season that you think that team came together, and when did you know it was going to be a special season?
Well, I thought it was the start to the finish because everybody had that mindset. You know, going in, you know, winning those close games, that really gets we can do it. We can overcome any adversity. And everybody just kind of played together, and it just meshed. Everybody was, you know, we're going this time. We're going. And it was from the offensive linemen to the defensive linemen to the running backs and to the quarterback, Boomer, and all that stuff. It was fantastic, and everything just kind of meshed. And we become what a team really is. Everybody do your job, and we practice that all the time in practice. Just do your job. Just when we would talk sass in those rumbles, you know, just do your job. And everybody kind of laughed and giggled, but do your job. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I carried, and everybody kind of saw that in practice and in the games. But especially, you know, now back then we practiced hard, really hard. And the practice is if you practice hard, you play hard. Because that stuff always carries over into Sunday. So I think that's what really happened. It was a true mesh.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at that team, I mean, I think the thing people forget is everybody remembers the offense, which the offense the first 12, 13 games was unreal. But people forget the playoff run was fueled by basically the defense. I mean, you had yourself, Reggie Williams, David Fulcher, Jason Buck, Jim Scout, Joe Kelly. I mean, defensively, you guys played out of your minds. I mean, you shut down Seattle, you shut down Buffalo, and until that last drive, you guys shut down the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, until that last drive in the Super Bowl I wish I was there. I think I was still there. I was in the locker room on the gurney. I was still there. I was still there in mine though. I was like that. But that was a humdinger for me. But the players gave their all, and that's all I can ask for my teammates. And I was tickled to death that they just kept fighting. And some days the fight don't go your way. But when everybody walked off the field, what you want to know, the person you played against, I played against a heck of a football player and a heck of a team. That's what I want them to know, and they know that. And they know that from me, and they know that from other players in that squad. That's all. And I talked to the wrestlers the other day. No matter what happens to you, they know you are on a mat, and they know you are a beast, even though you won or lost. And that's kind of what our year was.
Yeah, when it's over, you want the other guy to respect you.
Absolutely. From
and that's the
time I played, absolutely. That respect it's not, it's like a lot of times I was never a so-called media guy. Obviously, now I kind of speak more freely. And a lot of times, after a win or a loss, probably more after a win, I'd say a lot of times you have people around me and they want to know about the 9 tackles. They want to know about this. I says, guys, just please write what you saw on the field.
Well, and we talk about the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the ultimate game for a player. And, I mean, what was that week like leading up to the Super Bowl? And, I mean, up until the injury, which I hate to talk about because I don't know if this bothers me because, I'm not a huge fan of people outside of my own family. But, I mean, the way you played, I always respected the hell out of that. And the thing that drives me nuts is when you say Tim Krumrie, they immediately showed a picture of the Super Bowl of you getting your leg broke, and people forget just how great a player you were.
Well, I always say the story. I become famous on a broken leg, but it wasn't. And that I get that. But the real football fan knows what kind of player I was and what I did. The real fan and the real person really appreciates what I went through and overcome. That is really what they should appreciate, because I started the next year.
Yeah, and that was the thing that's most impressive. I read about the injury, how bad it was, and the fact that you were playing, 6 or 7 months later against Chicago is amazing. I mean, what was the process of that comeback like for you?
Well, it was hard. I mean, it was day to day. Sometimes it was humbling, but I guess that the mentality I had in football had to be, and that leg had to, my mind had to overcome that injury and really be strong every day. Be strong, and I had to force different things about it. Walking with a walker, with a snowblower, walking behind a snowblower to walk. That's humbling for a guy that played his butt off. And then went to camp. Did a walk the stairs. Went through this process with the equipment guys, not the equipment guys, but the strength guys and the athletic trainers. Physical therapy, range of motion, all that stuff. And believe it or not, Mike, I'm starting the opening game against Chicago. No practice, nothing.
So, I mean, you get 89 season to 90 season, the Bengals don't get back to the Super Bowl. Then the team all kind of fell apart. Guys leaving here, Fulcher goes to the Raiders. You get to 91, 92, 93. I mean, how rough was that for you as a player?
Well, it was good. I was satisfied with my playing ability at that time, and you probably were never the same person you were before, but in my mind I was. I had some good games and some bad games, and then eventually you kind of just have to say to yourself, enough is enough, and then I retired.
In the last game, though, I mean, the Bengals win the game, get an onside kick back, 50-some-yard field goal by Pelfrey. I mean, that has to be a special moment for you. I remember you riding off on the Harley? Yeah,
absolutely. They rode Harleys, and a good story was, it's a lot of different things that, people want. A suggestion, do you want to take a trip? Want to go visit somebody? What do you want? And, I just said, really nothing. And they knew I was a motorcycle guy, and then I think it was halftime. And all of a sudden I hear this, we're in the tunnel, I heard this roar. We're on the field doing a presentation. I heard this roar. All of a sudden out of the tunnel on the backside, here comes this big Harley bellowing down through the middle of the field. I go, dang. And the guy got off, threw me the keys. I almost, wow, what a day. And then the coolest thing was that when the game was over, I said to the guy who wrote it off, when I went back and played some more, I said, I'm going to is it okay if I run some victory laps around the field? He said, absolutely, Tim. So I got on the bike, circled the inside of the field, holding my hand up, then rode back up in the tunnel. That was great. Yeah.
So you retire, you come back, and you become an NFL coach. What drove you to want to coach?
Well, just the camaraderie of the players and the coaches. You get, the coaches you spend a lot of time together, and if you all bond, I mean, it's a lot of fun and a lot of great, keeps you back in that element. I coached 15 years through the league, and a lot of great coaches over the years, and great camaraderie. Still today, you call Dick LeBeau. Everybody knows who Dick LeBeau is.
Yeah, and that was my next question, was for you to talk about Dick LeBeau, because I've never – I mean, Levon Kirkland, I interviewed him like a year and a half ago. He started talking about Coach LeBeau, and he was almost in tears by the time he was done.
Well, Dick and I, it's the same. We have a special relationship because he's like a dad to me. He just took me underneath his wing and coaching and playing, and I still coach his stuff, his techniques, and all that stuff. And I still have the playbooks. We coach a lot of different, let's say East-West Shrine game and this and that. And, somebody puts the defense up there, and I say, well, that's inside cross. That's Dick LeBeau's. No, that's inside cross. He's going there. He's going there. He's going here. They all smile. They go, Tim, can you put the whole defense in? Well, you guys just do what you do, okay? But and even in high school, I coach high school, and they're doing the same stuff, trying to. But it's funny, you know what an inside cross is? Two linebackers cross in the middle.
Yeah,
you've seen it. That's inside cross.
Yeah.
When you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers, you watch Dick LeBeau's defense. That's inside cross. The inside cross, one tackle with the jet out for contain, the other got dropped, and being a piece off the strong weak side. So that's good. That's what that is. So.
Yeah,
that's my NFL career, and I coached in coaching. It was the Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills, and then I ended up with the Kansas City Chiefs. Then I came to the mountains in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
Yeah, and with the Chiefs, at least you got to be on HBO's Inside Hard Knocks or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
What's that experience like?
I don't know if that was good or bad. No, it was good. It was kind of I coached the same way I played, with a lot of passion, and that's what I expected the players to play. And some were taught in soft talk, and some were soft in loud talk. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody learns different. Some guys got a piece of paper and can write it down and remember. Some guys have to be a chalkboard guy. Some guys have to be drilled on the field. A good coach identifies that right away. And a good player says, hey, I don't get it when I write it. Cool. Not a problem. We're going to the board. Draw it on the board. I'm a board guy. I write it down and I can remember forever. And that's once you identify the problems, it ain't a problem. It's a strength in a football player. Just like teaching pass rush. You can tell somebody to do, a club rip, check, flip, step. You don't have a clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but if you show them, they can get it.
Yeah, but I demonstrated on the field. They got it. Done.
Yeah, so some people are more visual.
Yeah, everybody, and that's a great coach. That's what Dick LeBeau, he was a great coach, and he still is a great coach. He can identify that in, the defensive backs and linebackers. Who to blitz, who not to blitz, who can cover, who can play the run, and put the right pieces together.
Yeah, and the one thing you got going for you for being a coach is you were taught by the best because you had Dick LeBeau on the defensive side, and the offensive line coach you went up against, Jim McNally, is one of the best offensive line coaches that ever lived.
Absolutely. Who Jim McNally coached? Munoz. Anthony
Coached the greatest offensive lineman that ever lived.
Yeah. How do you learn? You learn from the greatest offensive player there is. You watch his practice tape. You watch his game tape, and you study his footwork, and then you look at somebody else's footwork. What's different? I was a video rat, so I would cheat. So Anthony had a tremendous kick, right? Remember that? Kick.
Yep.
That was from McNally, and he had a good kick. So I put another offensive lineman from another team on there, and he kicks not like he's supposed to. He kicks flat. He kicks straight back. Ooh, run, pass. Well, you got it.
Yep.
He's flat, run, pass, he's back. And I would just cheat that, watch Anthony's movements. And he didn't have too many tips. None. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You compare it to somebody else. So you take the best and you compare it. Now, if you're a coach, and I don't want to dwell, now if you're a coach, you do the same thing for your players. So when they come in, and then they have to pick it out. When they pick it out, they got it, Mike. They got it. And I make them get it. And then once they understand what they're doing, they can be a good football player. Yeah.
So now, do you still watch the NFL today?
Yeah. I don't have any sound on. I just watch most of the time I have the sound on, but I just sit there and talk to myself, saying,
yeah. So I
mean, it's going to be a draw. It's going to be run to the left.
The thing that I've really noticed compared to like when you played or guys like Jack Lambert played in the 70s, 80s, I think everybody now is bigger, stronger, faster, but I don't think they're necessarily as good at football players anymore. I think technique-wise, especially offensive linemen, is nowhere near what it used to be.
Oh no, well, I shouldn't say no. There's a lot of good ones, but I don't know if it's. I don't live that right now, Mike, and it's not fair to say that. They took a lot of practice time away from them due to safety.
Yeah, that's what I think is the biggest problem.
You can say whatever you want to say, but there's still a lot of great players, and they don't practice very much. And there's some players that aren't good enough that maybe could be if they had some more practice. That it kind of goes both ways. So it isn't fair to say it isn't a good program. Yes, anytime you do anything for safety, it's a good program. But sometimes I think it hurts players if they don't have some more reps that are a little more popping. That's just my deal.
So what are you doing today?
I do a lot of coaching across the country, and I'm an ambassador for a company down in Littleton. It's called Sarascan. Sarascan is a functional brain imaging facility that detects the blood flow in your brain. And I go out and speak for them and try to help other individuals get improvement with their brain.
All right. Well, hey, Tim, it was great having you on the show. Very honored that you came on today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure, and I can always tell a good story, Mike.
Hey, anytime you want to come on and tell a good story, because I know Joe Kelly wants to know if you come on. We do a weekly Bengals show where we kind of preview, look back at the games and stuff.
Yeah.
He said we need to get you on.
Are we still taping?
Yeah, we're still taping.
Oh, so nobody can listen to us?
No, they can listen to us, but how about this? I'll just give you a call after we wrap the show up.
Yeah, great.
All right,
Sounds
thanks
like
a lot, Tim.
All right, bye-bye.
Yep, thanks. All right, everybody, that was Tim Krumrie, former Cincinnati Bengal defensive lineman. Make sure you check out our Los Angeles Rams weekly show tomorrow, where we will have former L.A. Rams quarterback, 1969 NFL MVP, Roman Gabriel on the show. Check out all our shows on thegruelingtruth.net. You can hear us on iHeart, TuneIn, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you get a sports podcast, you will find The Grueling Truth. So, for Tim Krumrie, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.